Zero Calorie Marketing is a podcast created for marketers by marketers. In this podcast, we cover everything from marketing, philosophy, life, and whatever else that comes in between. We ask our guests about their current marketing struggles, how they overcame their biggest hurdles in their career, as well as tips and tricks listeners may be able to take away. Without a further ado, let's get to it. So today, I'm joined by Nina Nguyen, Senior Marketing Manager at Finecast. When she's not volunteering, flying to exotic locations like Cannes or Brighton or wherever these marketing things take place, she's busy organizing events, and we'll hopefully get to find out what else she gets up to. So welcome to Zero Calorie Marketing, Nina.
Thank you.
Firstly, could you, for the benefit of the audience, tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Nina, as you gave me a lovely introduction. I am currently a senior marketing manager at Finecast, which is a media tech company owned by a large holding company by Group N, and also part of WPP, which is something else that I just don't think I could get into. So I've been doing this now since September of last year. I decided to take the plunge into more media tech. Rather than going agency side, which I'll probably go into a little bit in a bit. But it's just one of those things where it's been a really crazy ride learning about a new facet of media when you think you kind of know everything, you really don't.
I mean, you're a bit of an OG when it comes to marketing because you've been within, like according to your LinkedIn, if it's updated, you've been working within marketing since 2017 when you first had your marketing role. What was that like for you to, dip your toe into the weird and wonderful world of marketing?
I mean, it was all by accident, to be honest with you. I was happy working in retail for the longest time, only because I had great discount. And also you just meet such a variety of people, right? So I was really lucky in the sense that I was kind of mentored in by this lovely lady called Lou Nylander, who I owe so much of my career to. And she got me into AOL. If we're really going into that kind of OG time, I was at AOL, and I was kind of brought in as an intern, and then from there it kind of just spiraled onwards. But it was just crazy because I didn't, study marketing. I studied politics. So, whilst I was, doing retail, I was kind of trying to get into quite a lot of journalism jobs. And I did manage to get myself a few stints here and there. But it wasn't until I was at AOL, I realized that advertising and generally marketing and advertising, how hand in hand it goes together. So that she is the reason why, and I still support her to this day. So
shout out to Lulu, is it?
Lou Nylander.
So shout out to Luna Nylander. I think one question I always love asking marketers is, what was the actual conversation like when this person kind of sold you into the world of marketing? How did they actually explain it to you, and what was the impression when you first heard about what you needed to do?
I think her precise quote to me was, "Advertising is everything," and I was like, "What is this woman on about?" And in my head, I was like, a doe-eyed 21-year-old, advertising is not everything. And then the more you actually delve into the world and the more I started learning about it, I'm like, oh my God, they have everything. And this is before programmatic as well. So I was like, they have all my, it was the years of the cookie capturing. But I was like, oh my God, they have all my data. They have this is how they target me. And it just opens your eyes because it's just an education into a world that, one, I was never really exposed to. And two, you realize not everything is by accident. And it's just crazy how, they know how to target you. And it was just that piece of information, that nugget of advertising is everything. And I still say this now to interns that I have, and they probably think I'm an absolute old time, what the hell does this woman know? But, in a way, it just manifests itself into different facets right now. You've got TikTokers, they don't know it, but they're actually advertising themselves. And when they do brand deals, it's still it's a currency that people don't really understand still, but it has a way of seeping into everything. And that's why I find it just so fascinating. And yeah, that was the hook really that got me into it.
Yeah, because, the test is always when you explain to your parents what you do. But my dad and my mom, they think that when they type in something on Google, like, I don't know, plumbing service or new jacket or new clothes, suddenly an advert starts chasing them around and they think, wow, this is magical. How did they know that I was thinking about buying this? And, they'll eventually convert, or, they'll kind of look into something and then they think it's just sort of magical. Whereas, trying to explain to them how this works from a digital marketing perspective is almost like a whole podcast in itself.
Exactly.
Yes. I think what we want to kind of know more about is like, so you got into marketing. What was your first kind of impression of it like as an insider? And, when did the penny drop in terms of, what, this is a world I want to spend the best part of my 5 or 10 years into? Tell us a bit more about that.
No, that's a great question. I think when I was in it, you're kind of learning, you're steeping everything up, right? And you don't realize that like marketing is always on. So when you're there, you're just like, oh, so there's a campaign going out here and that's, this is going on. And I genuinely actually will say that as of recently, it was probably when I was at OMD UK, which is, again, a media agency, which is a different world of its own. That wasn't until when the penny dropped for me and I was like, this is what I should be doing. I think it was at the time, it was a great coincidence of a lot of things that just kind of came together, that because I was going to give up on media, to be honest with you. At that point, I was like, I don't want to do it. This is just not the industry for me. Maybe I can transfer my skills into something else. And then I think when, a shout out to this lovely lady called Jess Roberts, who took me on. A lot of women in my life who take me on as a recurring theme. She opened my eyes to what it could be like working direct with clients. And it wasn't until I started working with clients like McDonald's, Barclays and Levi's, I was like, so there isn't a middleman, because when you're, let's just say AOL side or your publisher side, you don't get to work with the client. You don't actually get to see what's behind that because there's always a middleman. But when you are the middleman that has to work with the client, that's when your eyes get opened and you start seeing all the opportunities of growth, and you get to have your piece of information in their ear. And that's when the penny dropped for me. And I was like, okay, no, I definitely, this is it for me. Like the ultimate aim is to go client side eventually. But I think for now, I'm still learning, everything about this industry and how it's great in terms of learning as a whole, what more you could be doing before you go to the ultimate end.
It's very humble. I mean, you have been in the industry for a while. You worked with some pretty big companies. I guess that leads me to my next question, which is, you have this kind of unique task to kind of market a marketing or advertising agency. And I guess you're dealing with fellow professionals who are in the same world as, what challenges do you have on a day-to-day basis that keeps you awake at night?
I mean, I think right now, and this is so specific to the current times at the moment, but like with all of us professionals and in terms of just everyone in the media industry, the cost of living at the moment is so prevalent and it's such a big subject. And it's like, well, if that's the case, not just with your own staff, but then also with brands, are they going to be spending the same? Because if they don't be spending the same, then, everything changes. Our whole strategy and, all the wheels inside of this massive watch is turned by the client and what they spend and ultimately what they give us in terms of monetary wise. So that is honestly right now the biggest headache keeping me up at night, because I'm just like, oh my goodness, like my whole, you do your strategy from the beginning of the year, right? And you start planning out events, you start planning out, these campaigns that you're going to do with them. And they can change it in a split second and you have to be so reactionary. And, it's just one of those things where you there isn't time to always be as proactive as you want, especially in marketing. And if you have that luxury, good on you. But most of the time you are having to react to a lot of changes because it's never constant. You're always evolving. You're always, learning and you're always changing, and the industry is always changing. And right now it's definitely the cost of living and just rising prices and seeing what's going on, really.
I mean, I have a feeling you'll be just fine, Nina. Honestly, and like in terms of, the next question really is from your side. You mentioned campaigns. You mentioned, I mean, these are campaigns that you run for other people, but what about your campaigns that you're running internally that attract, that you're looking to attract customers with? Could you tell us, what's been some of your most memorable or the best performing campaigns you've run as a marketing manager to promote your business to your fellow marketing managers and digital marketing managers that are in the open?
Absolutely. So currently, I think when you're having a brand that's fairly young, like my one at the moment, making sure that there is a message out there that you need to drill, it's that you're actually having, again, with this there's always on a strategy and approach. So whether that's through PR, we're doing a massive overdrive of PR for my company at the moment. And with my previous company as well, it was just making sure that we were the standard. So we were entering awards like there was no business at all, winning, shortlisting, entering all of these awards. Don't get me wrong, like you have to understand these awards are costing us. I'm pretty sure, TMI, like we had a budget of like nearly 80K for awards, just so that we would just enter these in, just to make sure that people knew that actually it's a humble brag. There's nothing humble about it. No. It's a humble brag to say, no, we are the standard and we are doing like the most for our clients. And that's what I'm genuinely proud of, is like just making sure that we're getting all of these awards, these accolades, coming to us, because it's not only a great reminder to you guys internally what great work you are doing, and it's such validation, but there's also validation for the industry to know we are the standard. We are your competitors, and that's the fun part of it all as well, because at the end of the day you're all in competition with each other, friendly competition, but it's still competition at the end of the day, right? No. So that's like I think that's definitely my strongest like ROI kind of blueprint for me. Like making sure that we are out there, we are getting our name out there.
Moving off of it, I think in terms of you as a marketer, like you not fell into it by accident. You went into marketing. How are there any books or any blogs or any people that you follow that have inspired you to become a better marketer, or have inspired you to hone your craft better?
Absolutely. Like I think one of the great things about being in such a fluffy industry is that there's always some form of speaker coming in talking about like their subject matter. And one of the people that I actually got to have the privilege of meeting was Bruce Daisley, and he is the ex-VP of the UK Twitter. And he's had, and he wrote a book called The Joy of Work. Now, I know that sounds like the most fluffiest title for a book, but the moment I started reading the first chapter, I was just like, oh, so this is probably why I'm resenting my role. And there's exactly right. You're laughing about it, but there are nuggets of information, and there are certain traits that you do that you don't realize is contributing to your own unhappiness. And it wasn't until you start reading that, and I started reading, a few more chapters, and I was like, I'm really just not that content in my role. So I would say Bruce Daisley, Joy of Work. That just really just taps into your consciousness. And then something very specific to female empowerment, Women Who Think Too Much, and that's by Susan Nolan Hoeksema, I think her name is Hoeksema. Oh my goodness, like that changed my perception of having like a real purpose, because I think her quote was, having a real purpose is the best beacon for growth. And that just applies perfectly into marketing, because you have to have a purpose. Without a purpose, what are you selling out there, right? So that is definitely the second book that I recommend for any woman out there who's just struggling in her role generally. But also, and then the third one, and this is, I feel like my books are very mental health centered, but Happy by Fern Cotton. Oh my goodness. Because she comes from a more forward-facing broadcasting background, I feel like when you're a public figure, I suppose there is something different about that. But there are bits of information in there that just really help with creating a good work-life balance. And I'm very for that. Don't get me wrong. I love what I do. I love my job, but my job is not me. My job is a part of me, but it's not wholly me. And I like the fact that book kind of helped disenfranchise the separation for me of Nina as Nina Nguyen, the person, and Nina Nguyen, the marketer. And that to me is like, that's where the happy balance comes from. And I really love that book for that, because it really does help with, when you're going through like a really difficult time at work, you just need a third party perspective that isn't in your industry. And you just read that and you're like, it's not, it's not heart surgery what we're doing. Things won't, exactly. It just makes sense. It brings things into perspective.
Well, I'll tell you 2 fun facts about the books you mentioned, actually. So I was actually at the launch party for Bruce Davies' the Happiness at Work book. I've got an autographed copy. So I flick through it every now and again, especially when I need to kind of make sure my team is functioning, and make sure I'm there for my team when they're there. Another fun fact about Bruce was, so before Twitter, he was actually at YouTube, and I think he was one of the first people at YouTube to be in this country. And I was, this is not a joke, I was literally in a lift with him because he was doing a talk. I was like, hey, you work for YouTube, what's your favorite ever video? And he gave me, he told me a video to watch, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And this is when YouTube was still kind of new. I'm dating myself, I know. But so yeah, I go back with Bruce. I love him, and I listen to his podcast on a regular basis. There's something very charming about him, and the way he just has a conversation with you, and has a way of explaining complicated things in a very easy way. So I love that man. If you're listening, please go on this coming up podcast and recommend me some more YouTube videos to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I'll happily jump on that train with you.
We can tag team ourselves, Nina. We can get together. So I know you're short for time, so I don't want
No, it's all good.
In terms of you've been in the game for a while. Obviously there are veterans, but I'm not saying you're a veteran. I'm not saying you're old or anything. This isn't one of those podcasts that insults people. But what I want to ask you is you've come through the ranks in a number of media companies. Where do you think this world is going in terms of what can we expect for the next 5 or 10 years? Wild predictions that you can make. It doesn't have to be immediate. Just what do you think the future holds for us?
I think the first and foremost thing is that I've noticed anyway, generally, is that people are buying into brands now and not products anymore, which is so funny, because back in the days, people would be like, it doesn't matter if your brand's not on point, right? It's all about the product. And now I'm seeing a flip reverse of that, because, if your brand is not eco-friendly, if it's not seen to be as inclusive, people aren't going to mess with you anymore. And I think that is such a powerful thing that we as consumers, and just consumers in general, have. So I think one of the first predictions I'm going to make is that people will be buying into brands and not products.
Interesting.
And then secondly, I just touched on inclusivity, but I think people are going to start pulling up, and they're doing it now, but I think for the future, it's definitely going to be a reoccurring thing where people are now championing authentic, inclusive marketing. And if you're not, and I'm not talking about the greenwashing or a rainbow flag here and there. We're talking about championing it every day, because I think we're now of the age where, especially the new generation, they're not tolerating the white picket fence, the white family on the TV anymore. It's changing, and I'm seeing that, and I think especially on TikTok as well, where the Gen Z kids are so vocal. I think it's something really interesting to keep an eye on, because we've seen a load of brands get a lot of backlash for making a prime example, M&S, when they did their BLT LGBTQ sandwich. Disaster, right? And people will call it out. And I think now there's just so much momentum, especially all about inclusivity, that you're kind of, you have to have the right people in the room. And I think that's where brands are kind of knowing where their power lies. And then I think, and this is going to be specifically for media, since I'm championing the media people here, attention will be the next rarest commodity. Whereas before it was cookies, before it was programmatic, having people's attention is now going to be the next big thing, because those little ads on your phone, are people really looking at it? You know, are people genuinely, when you're multi-screening on your phone to your TV, are people going to be either looking at the TV or the phone? It's just making sure that, it's going to be the next rarest commodity, and I can just see it exploding in the next 5 years. So that is my prediction. It's a mishmash of them. But I quite like the fact that you've asked me this, because I never really get asked that at all.
Asking all the important questions. Well, the next one may be quite trivial. I mean, obviously, you probably work with TikTok and you work with influencers for your advertisers as well as your clients. How do you approach your TikTok at Finecast, or not TikTok, or Instagram? Because you're kind of you've seen the matrix, I guess. How do you approach it? And does that, having that knowledge or working with this, make it easier for you, because you can actually see, this is, if I do this, then this is going to happen, or does it, or does it not help at all?
I think for me anyway, especially when I'm dealing with a brand or any company's social that I'm doing, is just knowing, and I know it's going to sound so stupid, but it's just knowing your audience, knowing who you're talking to, and knowing what platform serves for what content, right? Because for your, let's just say for your Twitter, you can have general news, everything under the sun. For your Instagram and your TikTok, that's for, the fun bits that you guys do as a company, upholding that culture, showing people that actually you're not all about work. You also have a little bit of fun and play for you. And then LinkedIn is, let's be honest here, all for the corporate stuff, the awards that you've won, the campaigns that you're doing. It's just knowing who your audiences are and what serves, and what is that content going to serve, really. Because at the end of the day, we can be putting on anything on LinkedIn, and if it doesn't serve the right people, they're just going to ignore it. And what's the point of that? You want your message to be heard. And like I said, it's about having that purpose, that real purpose for each platform, so that, because it is going to give you that growth. Without any real purpose, you're not going to get any growth, because people know you're not going to be authentic. So
it's almost like you'd rather go for something deep and meaningful rather than just going for the sake of having a TikTok.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. I think from my last question, and I actually, because I know that you're short for time, so I wasn't going to put this in. And I think you've mentioned a few people who've helped you in your career. What's your opinion of paying it forward? And, how do you ever pluck someone out and say, hey, you should work in marketing? Or, has that moment happened with you yet? Or is this something that you're... Absolutely.
No, absolutely, Sud. Like I said, with that New Lylander, who took me into marketing and just AOL media in general, she is a very proud Black British female. And I think I was so lucky to have someone like her interview me from the get-go, because I don't know what my chances would have been like if I had, and real talk here, I don't know if I would have had the same chance if I had a white male interviewee. And there was another white male candidate that shared a lot more commonalities with him. I probably wouldn't have been into the media industry, right? Because everyone has those unconscious biases. And thank God, right now that the industry is kind of realizing that these biases do exist, especially against, DEI kind of marginalized groups. So I started working a few years ago, actually, when I was at OMD UK with this academy called the Eastside Academy. And it takes kids from under... I wouldn't even say underprivileged, but under socioeconomic backgrounds that just aren't as lucky as most people are, like my colleagues in the media industry are. And it teaches them about media, and they can make that choice themselves. They can make a choice if they want to explore it. But the fact is that they have the option to even know what goes on behind their ads and understand the media industry. because truth be known, if you don't study it and you don't know about it, or you haven't had the privilege of having media lessons in your college or your sixth form, or have it, in your comprehensive school, whatever, you wouldn't know about it. Like, you wouldn't understand this industry. To people, it's like Mad Men, but it isn't. There's so much more, right? So I do heavily believe in pay it forward, making sure that those opportunities are out there for people to know about, and it's up to them if they want it or not. And if they are interested and they just don't have the means to, I 100% I love giving people the chance to come in, do work experience, and at least paid as well. I don't like free work experience. I think that's such a dirty word, because right now in London, you can't get on a tube and get, your Oyster card, and it's too expensive to get people to work for free. Honestly, I just don't believe in that.
That's working for free in the world of media and advertising is a different kind of topic in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
And we should definitely look at that in detail, give it that it deserves. Lastly, how can people get in touch with you, Nina, if they wanted to reach out to you, ask you for advice, or just generally?
Yeah, I think the best way is just to get on my LinkedIn. Like, I have to respond on LinkedIn because it is my main form of communication anyway. But also, if you like cleaning and you're into cleaning generally, just go on my TikTok. I will link that with you. I'll leave that with you to put in the description. But I created a safe community for those who are clean freaks like myself. Cleaning.
Well, Nina, if you ever need guinea pigs or places to clean, then you're welcome to it.
I've got so many tips.
I've got a pretty big house. I need a lot of cleaning. You came in for marketing marketing podcast, but you walked away with a cleaning job. So that's
absolutely. that would have been the extra work that I don't mind, the side hustle.
This was all a ruse to get you to come and clean my house.
Basically.
So Nina, I know you got to go. Are you looking forward to Cannes? Who are you looking forward to meeting, and what's it going to be like?
I genuinely think that it's just going to be such a mosh pit of people at the moment, because we haven't, been back for 2 years. So it's going to be a little bit mishmashy, I think, for the first year. Next year, I think that's where people are going to be a bit more cohesive. Right now, I think this is the year where everyone's just going to flash their cash and be like, we are back. Facebook's going to have a crazy party. Oh, sorry. Meta's going to have a crazy party. Snap's going to have an amazing party. All of those media outlets, they're just going to go mad. But it was never really for the agencies and for us little boys. It's just for those guys to show us we are the ones to beat. And then next year hopefully it'll just have a little bit more structure around it. But like I said, this year is for them to show everybody what they've been missing for the last 2-3 years.
Nina, get me into one of these parties, please.
I'll try my hardest.
I want to hang out with P. Diddy.
John Legend was a few years ago, actually. He was launching his wine, and that was absolutely manic. I was like, why are you here?
I see two legends in one thing. Nina, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I will be in touch with you by email separately, but good luck with your call and have fun in Cannes, and send me a postcard.
I will. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thanks. Bye.
Like what you hear? Then check out some of the other episodes in this series, or visit us at zerocaloriemarketing.com.